From Music Row in Nashville, Tennessee, at the spacious and delightful iHeart Studios, this is Hope for the Caregiver, the nation's #1 show for the family caregiver. I am Peter Rosenberger. Glad to have you with us. I'm bringing 3 decades of experience to help you stay strong and healthy as you take care of someone who is not. I want to welcome all the listeners in the 1510 area here in Middle Tennessee and on the Truth Network across the country. We're glad you're with us, and then streaming iHeart across the world. We're just thrilled to have you. If you want to be on the show, 800-688-9522. Now, I say it slowly because my wife, who is watching on Facebook Live, says that I have to say it slowly. So I will say it slowly again for my wife, who says I have to. So, Gracie, 800-688-9522 is the number to call. And when you call, you will hear the melodious tones of himself, the Baron of the Board, the Sultan of Sound, the Earl of Engineering, the man who is representing the U.S. in the Winter Olympics on the ice fishing team. He is the Count of Mighty Disco, John Butler, everyone.
That's the wrong song.
Well, I just threw you with the ice fishing.
I did. I love the ice fishing thing. By the way, that is a lovely song that you wrote.
It is. Chris Latham and I wrote that. You know, by the way, I got to give a shout out to Chris Latham.
Oh, right on.
Chris Latham and I wrote the theme song of the show that you're hearing. And he is up for his 4th Grammy tonight.
Really?
Yes.
Right on, Chris.
His 4th Grammy nomination. He's already received 1, and tonight is his 4th Grammy nomination. Don't know if he's going to get it, but he's hopeful. And,
well, congratulations.
It's a record that he worked on, and just so big shout out to Chris Latham and the band there.
Absolutely,
they do a great job. How you feeling, baby?
I am grand as always. How about yourself? I am. I'm a little bit chilly here because I didn't dress for ice fishing.
Well, and who does?
I mean, really. Well, ice fisherman Peter. That's who dresses for ice fishing.
It's an interesting sport you've chosen, John. Hey, listen. There's been a busy week. We're finishing up. Gracie, who I just referenced earlier, my wife.
Well, and she's right, about the saying it slowly.
On so many levels.
Yeah. I mean.
But she had a very big event this week. She had her 80th surgery. 80th surgery number 80.
Do you track these things like anniversaries?
No, but this was a good number.
No, like the first one's the paper surgery, the golden surgery,
the IV surgery.
Yeah,
it's this was they had to work on her elbow. She had a good bit of scar tissue from the wreck. Everything was damaged in her wreck back in 1983, and but transferring to a wheelchair over the years after she lost both of her legs has really made that problem a lot more difficult in the right elbow, and so it was pinching off the nerve, and so her hand was atrophying literally.
Oh no!
And didn't have any feeling in 2 fingers there, and so they went there and they relieved it, and she's on her way to recovery. Now, we don't know how much she's going to recover from that, but we know it won't get worse.
There you go.
But here's what happened, John. I was leaving the hospital with my wife, and I'm pushing her in the wheelchair. Now, she has 2 artificial legs that she doesn't wear skin covering on. So they look kind of robotic, kind of like Terminator legs.
Oh, right on.
I call them that. And then she's got her arm in a sling. And we get on the elevator, and there's a big elevator, one of those big, like massive
elevators.
Yeah. And everybody's staring at her. Now, granted, she's a beautiful woman, but still, to see a woman with 2 artificial legs and her arm in a sling, and they're all staring at her, they're not really even being that coy about it. So because I'm who I am, I said, worst hysterectomy ever.
You did not. You did not.
And they all just kind of flinched.
Yeah.
And like she put up a fight, but
I say you did not. I absolutely believe you did. If you told me you didn't say that, I would say, yeah, okay.
She just rolled her eyes, but they were all visibly startled.
She is a saint for putting up with you.
Worst hysterectomy ever. So, but she is doing okay, and I'm grateful for that. So 80 surgeries. How about that? Bless her heart. She's tough. I tell her she's tougher than train smoke. Hey, listen, been a big month for caregivers.
Oh.
Did you see the president signed, Congress passed it, the president signed the RAISE Act. The RAISE Act is, excuse me, it's, I'll tell you what it stands for, shows you how knowledgeable I am. I have notes today.
Whoa.
Those of you watching at home, I have notes today. The Recognize, Assist, Include, Support, and Engage, RAISE, Family Caregivers Act, requires the Secretary of Health and Human Service to develop, maintain, and update a strategy to recognize and support family caregivers. They've given them 18 months to come up with a plan. I'm going to give you 1.8 seconds to help you as a caregiver. Read my book. You're already doing it. You're listening to the show. I don't know why it comes up 18 months for them to come up with a plan, but God bless them for moving at half the speed of smell. You know, I mean,
well, and that gift horse has some nice teeth, doesn't it, Peter?
You will watch it. I'm grateful that they're doing anything for caregivers.
Yes.
I'm not sure why it's going to take 18 months, but you know, God bless them. And they're trying, and bless their hearts, as we say.
Well, they don't have 30 years of experience to back them.
No, they don't.
So,
and I don't think that you're going to find that. I had a caller one time said this to me, and I was really kind of stunned by this. Said, why don't you use your celebrity status to affect change and do this and this? And I'm thinking, wait a minute, when did I become a celebrity? And don't we need to redefine the word celebrity if I'm in that group?
I mean,
I'm thinking,
what letter of the alphabet list?
Oh my goodness, she's got two problems. But you know, can you wait 18 months as a caregiver before help comes? No, you need help today. You need help today, right here, right now. Today, which, by the way, brings me to our caregiver tip of the day. See how I did that, John? It's almost like we know what we're doing.
Don't let anybody know.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't dream of it. I wouldn't dream of it. Our caregiver tip of the day.
You know I'm going to do it.
Yes, you are, and God bless you for doing it. Is brought to you by AARP of Tennessee. Let me give you their website: aarp.org/states. And that's plural, states.tn, which stands for Tennessee. And they've been just wonderful sponsors of this show for a very long time, and they have a lot of resources available for family caregivers. AARP, of course, has the national organization, then each state has their own statewide, and they have things on their website that are for caregivers, but not necessarily. Everybody thinks, I think you're taking care of somebody that's elderly, or it's only for people over 50. But the caregiving things they have are for everybody. If you got a child with special needs, there's stuff out there for you. So here's our caregiver tip of the day. I'm like a whipped puppy with you. It's brought to you by AARP of Tennessee, and it is do the next right thing. Do the next right thing. I talk to way too many caregivers, and I included myself in this group. We get so disoriented. We get so lost in this journey.
It's a kaleidoscope of problems.
It is very nicely said. We don't know where to go. We don't know what to do. And sometimes the next right thing is for you to take a nap. Sometimes the next right thing is for you to simply make an appointment to see your physician, or to go for a walk, or to drink some water. Don't try to live out 5 years from now. As caregivers, we can plan for things down the road. We can certainly make some type of organized setup of, okay, here's where we think we're going to go. But in reality, we can only deal with right now. And
you know, what I'm getting from this is that you're saying this is not something that you live your life like this, but when you find yourself in a chaotic situation, and you don't know what to do, and you're experiencing some choice paralysis, just do the next right thing.
Do the next right thing. Sometimes the next right thing is just a bowl of soup and some cornbread. And
I think that's always.
Yeah. You're from Arkansas. You understand that. Yeah. So that's the caregiver tip of the day, to do the next right thing. Don't try to somehow think, well, what about this? What's going to happen next week? Or no, you don't even know what's going to happen next week. But here's where we are today. And I think this is how we do it as caregivers. We break it down to its simplest elements of where we are today. And the next right thing, you're listening to this show. You're engaging with a community of people who understand your journey. And that's a great thing. So this is the caregiver tip of the day, brought to you by AARP of Tennessee. And thank him for doing that. All right. Speaking of the president and the RAISE Act and all this stuff, I head up to the State of the Union. this week.
That's some big time stuff.
Well, it kind of is. I'm
Yeah.
going up there. Representative Marsha Blackburn here in Tennessee invited me to be her guest for this. And can you do the wave in the gallery at the House of Representatives?
I think you can only do the wave if you have painted your face and are wearing a rainbow or an American flag.
I'm going to wear the
wig,
rainbow.
right? Yeah,
I'm wearing the rainbow wig. I'm going to hold up
yeah.
John 3:16. I'm Tim Tebow with the stuff with the black stuff.
Oh yeah,
on my
absolutely.
eyes.
If you are dressed appropriately, you can do the wave.
I'll do the wave. I'll be the one at the. I'll be eating junior mints like Kramer in Seinfeld, and I'll be dropping them down. You know, so I'm going to be on my best behavior.
I'm glad because I do not need to have to Uber you back from Washington, right?
Oh, goober me back. I'll be prodding goober. But I'm very honored. I love this country and I love the history of it. I think this is going to be a very exciting State of the Union, John.
I imagine it will be.
I'm thinking it's going to look like WWE before it's all said and done.
Well, we have a president who, in fact, has made an appearance at WrestleMania.
Well,
so,
this is true. I was talking to a reporter, and they said, "What if the president says something? What do you hope he will say?" And I said, "I want him to say, make caregivers great again. It's going to be huge." And I said, "No, I'm actually I did say that." So
you did, yeah.
If you see that on the news, you'll know you heard it here first. But I said that because one of the reasons I'm going up there is the whole opioid issue, because I weighed into this. I think I get tired of Congress and political leaders in general passing sweeping legislation that affects those of us in this world, and they don't ask us what we think of it, as caregivers. And
yeah,
so
I thought the representative democracy part of this.
Yeah, and so this is this vast group of people who are doing all this legwork, if you'll pardon the expression, and we don't get asked. And so I weighed into this, and I'm hoping that I can somehow weave this in. So every time they mention the opioid crisis, they say, "Hey, let's also talk about the needs of caregivers." That's what I hope to do. So I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be a lot of fun. Hey, this is the nation's #1 show for the family caregivers, and you're listening, and we're grateful that you are. And I love doing the show, and I love having you as a part of it. And you can call in 800-688-9522. And just remember that I'm saying it slow because my wife told me to. 800-688-9522. We'll be right back.
Here's some great news. If you missed the deadline to sign up for health insurance, or if you signed up for a plan you're not happy with, you still have a choice. MediShare is a healthcare sharing program. Hundreds of thousands of Christians are part of this. It can save you a lot. Typical savings for a family is about $500 a month. You can join MediShare anytime. It's easy to call and look into it. There's no pressure at all. And man, what a difference it can make. 855-25-SHARE. That's 855-25-SHARE.
Welcome back to the show for Caregivers About Caregivers, hosted by a caregiver. I am Peter Rosenberger, bringing you 3 decades of experience to help you stay strong and healthy, and myself stay strong and healthy as we take care of someone who is not. And we're glad you're with us. Thank you for that little bit of Chicago there, John. You knew I was jonesing for some Chicago.
Oh, I'm with it, man.
And I'm very grateful that you're with us. If you want to be on the show, the number to call is 800-688-9522. And I'm watching on the Facebook Live. The folks are chiming in, and my wife just posted. She said, "I'm so glad that you're saying it slowly."
Well, because she happens to be right. I mean, I know you don't need me to tell you that.
I don't need you to tell me that, John. And she doesn't need you to tell her that. But,
I'm sure
but we're grateful that you did.
Yeah,
and,
I just want to lend my support to Grace.
But we're doing this Facebook Live now, which I'm very excited about because I'm able to post it on YouTube on my Caregiver channel.
Yeah.
And on the podcast, which is free, by the way. It's Caregiver Podcast. There's so many different ways. I'm just putting it all out there as best as I possibly can. And I got to give you, if you indulge me for just a moment, I got a wonderful piece of feedback the other day on our CD.
Okay.
Now, our CD's been out there for a little bit. It's called Songs for the Caregiver. And the bookstore owner here in Nashville, the Logos bookstore, the owners there told me that this has been their top selling CD ever. I think they've said.
Oh, wow.
Ever.
Okay.
I mean, they've been in business a long time. We've sold
Yeah.
a lot of books and CDs. They've never had a CD like this that have sold this much. And they said that a lady came up to them and said, my husband has dementia. And every afternoon he starts having some real agitation, and it becomes very uncomfortable for all of us. And so we started putting on your CD, and it immediately calms him down every time, not just once or twice, every time. And now he refers to it as his CD, his music. He said, I got to have my music. I'm getting a little bit, whatever. He could feel it coming on.
Yeah.
He said, I got to have my music. And I thought, wow. That's why I did the CD. That's right there. That's why I did it. I know the Grammys are tonight, and I'm not trying. That's not my thing.
It's a humbling thing.
It is. It's incredibly humbling, and it was deeply meaningful to know. And I've heard that people are playing it a lot during hospice events and so forth, just to calm. And I tested it on myself on 285 in Atlanta in rush hour. I played my CD on 285, and those of you who've been on 285 understand this, during rush hour. Now, Gracie was starting to get a little bit agitated with me, because we're driving. She said, get in front of this guy, get in front of this guy. And so I put on my CD, and it calmed us both down. And pretty soon, Gracie was just relaxed. I was relaxed. The finger of fellowship was not given to anyone.
Oh, that is a...
and that's just Gracie. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But that's the reason I did it. I understand the frazzled nerves that we can all get.
And if anything can frazzle nerves, it's 285.
And oh man. And I figured out how I play as a pianist. I play like mom's hum.
Oh,
that's how I play. I'm the Cracker Barrel of piano players. I mean, it's comfort music. That's all it is. And I play hymns that people know and love. And Gracie sings. She does about half of the songs on this, but it just all flows, and it's very common. You can get this at iHeart or Amazon. You can download it right now, and do that. Do yourself a favor. I mean, I know I'm plugging my own stuff here, but somebody's got to do it, and you weren't doing it, John.
Well,
so.
My check didn't clear.
And it probably won't. But I put out things for caregivers, only for caregivers. Other people will benefit from it, but my target is this group of people who are so frazzled, and their nerves are so raw
and isolated.
Oh my gosh! And so, I'm just, I was reading just a comment right here on Facebook Live. I'm wearing down, but as a caregiver. Another one just texted in from Macon, Georgia, and they're packing up the house where her mother-in-law used to live, who's just recently passed away, and doing these things. These are emotional and traumatic things that go on as you go through these things. It just wears you down. So I want to do things that'll strengthen my fellow caregivers, that'll build them up, that'll let them know they're not alone. And I put this out there, and I put a lot of stuff out there just on the website. So please take advantage to go out there at standingwithhope.com, and there's a whole music page, and you can hear, there's a music player. I'm getting kind of creative in my old age, John. Don't tell anyone.
I won't.
But but I put a music player so you can hear some of the songs and just play them. And Gracie's singing them and so forth. And to this day, my favorite that she does on there, they're all my babies. But when she sings Be Still My Soul, and then it goes into Balm in Gilead, there's an old hymn, and she does such a great job on this, and the orchestra comes in, and it's like putting a warm blanket on people who are in trauma, and that's what her voice does to me, and I get to listen to that voice all the time, and so I'm just grateful for that. So, and she's cutting her new record, by the way.
Oh, right on, Gracie.
She is. We're doing just piecemeal because we have to do it slow. Because I don't play very fast.
Well,
no.
Anything worth doing is worth doing right.
All right, listen, we got to go to the bottom of the hour here. A lot of things to go on. We've got a wonderful caller calling in next segment from South Carolina. Her name is Mary Tutero, and you're going to love her and what she has to say. She's got a special needs daughter, about 25 years old, and some things this woman has learned that she depends on. You're going to love her. and lots more to go. And go see more at standingwithhope.com. And we're just glad you're with us. Thank you. And let's have some fun together. Let's build each other up together. Let's strengthen each other together. Healthy caregivers make better caregivers, and we're on the road to doing that, aren't we? All right, this is Peter Rosenberger. I'll be right back.
Here's some great news. If you missed the deadline to sign up for health insurance, or if you signed up for a plan you're not happy with, you still have a choice. MediShare is a healthcare sharing program. Hundreds of thousands of Christians are part of this. It can save you a lot. Typical savings for a family is about $500 a month. You can join MediShare anytime. It's easy to call and look into it. There's no pressure at all. And man, what a difference it can make. 855-25-SHARE. That's 855-25-SHARE.
I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more than be the man who walked 1,000 miles to fall down at the door. When I'm walking.
Welcome back to the show for Caregivers About Caregivers, hosted by a caregiver. I am Peter Rosenberger, bringing you 3 decades of experience to help you stay strong and healthy as you take care of someone who is not. And we are glad you're with us. 800-688-9522. 800-688-9522 if you want to be on the show, and we'd love to have you give a call in. We're waiting on Mary Tudoro. She's going to be calling us from South Carolina in a few moments, and we want to give you a couple of items here that we talked about in the first half hour. I'm heading up tomorrow night to Washington. I'll be at the State of the Union, and you can look up in the gallery. The guy that's doing the wave, that'll be me. And I'm
don't do that. Don't.
Wearing a sign. Here's your sign. But I'll be going up there. One of the reasons I'm going up there is because of this, the opioid crisis, what's going on with that. And Marsha Blackburn, our representative here in Middle Tennessee, that some of you know, and those of you across the country, you've probably seen her on the news a lot. And she invited me to be her guest for this. She had seen some things that I'd written. And
clearly she hasn't met you.
God bless her for her deplorable lack of judgment. And but I'm incredibly grateful. I wade into this, and I have not injected myself into these some of these other issues, much to my chagrin, because I got tired of Congress and Washington in general speaking into healthcare issues that did not include credible representatives from the caregiving community. And when people think of caregivers, I look at the numbers. A lot of people say there's 40 million caregivers. You know why they say that?
Why is that?
Because they're counting the ones taking care of seniors.
Ah.
And they're not counting families with special needs. They're not counting, in our situation, I've been Gracie, a caregiver for Gracie since I was 22.
Yeah.
And Gracie was not a senior, and she had a traumatic accident. And I was like incredulous that this 25 million people are being just ignored.
Well, and we have wounded soldiers coming back.
Well, wounded
Yeah.
warriors and all the above. There's so many different scenarios as a caregiver, and so I said, okay, you know what? I'm gonna say something about this, that caregivers need to be included in this discussion, particularly when you deal with chronic pain and the opioid issue. And I don't see how you can have any type of meaningful dialogue about the opioid issue if you don't involve family caregivers and those involved with some type of chronic pain. So I wrote about it, and I've spoken about it, and went on, did a couple TV things on it. And Marsha's folks were just incredibly gracious to allow that. And I was truly floored. I mean, I didn't even know it was a thing, a possibility. And so she's asked me to come up there and just speak into the situation. She's going to introduce me to, I think, the Speaker of the House and some others, and I'll be on my best behavior, John.
Thank you. We want you to represent the show well. And all joking aside, it's kind of her, but also appropriate of her to do that. That's
well, yeah. It's time, and there's too many people, and there are 3 different scenarios, and I'll dive into this real quick in a little bit of time I have with it. There are 3 different scenarios where a caregiver is going to struggle when dealing with a chronic pain patient and opioids.
And there are zero where they are not.
Well, there's zero when they're not, but there's three specific ones I want to talk about. See, and I'm not talking about somebody who has a surgery, they have pain medication for about a week, and they move off on it. I'm talking when this thing extends on to months, years, and in our case, decades. When you're dealing with chronic pain, you're going to encounter some dynamics. And if the physician overshoots the mark, then you're heavily medicating someone. Been there, done that. Gracie, and I'll tell you, that was not a good place. And then they undershoot the mark. And Gracie will tell you that too. And then she's just left with just raw pain, just wailing on her. And then when they get it right, because you're still inserting chemicals into somebody's body that are behavior altering chemicals over a long period of time that have multiple side effects. In fact, a friend of mine was telling me in med school, his professor told him, "You show me a pill with no effect, no side effects, and I'll show you a pill with no effect." And I thought, yeah, there's some real truth to that.
Fair point.
And so anything you're putting in your body that, you run the risk of having something going on. And I did this one interview and they asked me, they said, well, what do you think this is just the easiest path that people are taking, that they just prescribe opioids? And I think sometimes there's that. We think, okay, we got a pill.
That's clearly a possibility.
Yeah, we take a pill for it. And you guys that are watching and listening, and feel free to weigh in on this, that are dealing with this in your family. But I think that's one thing. I think we have a culture that has said we got to have maximum relief right now. In fact, if you'll notice when you go to the pain section at your pharmacist or grocery store, whatever, there's no regular strength anymore. It's all maximum strength. It's like Jerry Seinfeld said, whatever will kill the human body, back it off a little bit, and that's what I want. And that's where we are as a culture. So we got to get out of pain. We got to get out of pain. Well, I understand that if it's a short-term problem, but when you're dealing with a long-term problem, Grace would be the first to tell you, you've got to learn to live with this, and you've got to learn to live productively with it. And sometimes that involves taking opioids. Sometimes that involves taking a break from opioids and going into different directions, but it always involves multiple things. And for example, I'll give you a quick example. I'm dealing with this one thing where I'd like to, and I've talked about this on the show before, we would like to use a topical anesthetic patch for Gracie, not an opioid, just an anesthetic patch, because she has
like lidocaine or something like that.
Exactly, lidocaine.
Oh, okay.
Because she has a lot of arthritis.
Okay.
And so areas that are going to be really sore, that are pretty uncomfortable. All right. So they won't pay. It's incredibly expensive to do that. The formulary of the plan will pay for it, but actually they'll just give a discount on it, but it's incredibly expensive. However, they will pay thousands for opioids. Now, explain the rationale on that. I got one over here that is a non-invasive, non-narcotic that has efficacy, and this one over here will create multiple other problems and side effects, and they'll pay for that.
And they'll pay more for that.
They'll pay more for it. And I'm thinking,
and you've said on many occasions, don't give a sob story to the insurance company, bring a calculator.
Yes. And so I'm telling them, okay, you guys have just let the bills just keep running up. But you can lead a man to an idea, but you can't make him think.
Mm-hmm.
And so, so I weighed into this, and then Representative Blackburn was nice enough to say, okay, this is worthy of talking about, because so many families are truly coming apart at the seams with this, with chronic pain. And think about it. Just ask the question, do you really think that the pharmaceutical companies are making all the money they're making off of some guy named Rooster selling this stuff behind the dumpster?
Don't talk bad about Rooster.
Well, I know you and Rooster are close. But, I mean, do you think about that? Do you really think that's what's happening, that this is where the money is being generated by illicit use of these things? Or as that we are prescribing them so rampantly, and we have physicians that are just doing it too loosely,
that we end up with a secondary market.
Yes. And so into this situation, I spoke about the needs of the family caregiver, understanding the journey. And I will say this, and I will say this over and over and over and over again. I have received prescriptions and gone to the pharmacy to take them, picked them up, and brought home, in the street value, millions of dollars worth of opioids over the years. I mean, millions. And not one time did any physician or any pharmacist ever look across the pad or the counter and say to me, dude, we're putting a lot of chemicals into your wife's body over a long period of time. You might want to get some help for yourself on this. You might want to seek some counseling. You might want to go to support group. They didn't see me anywhere. I had to stumble into those things and realize, oh, wait a minute. It's okay for me to raise my hand and say, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help her. I don't know how to help myself. I don't know what's going on, because sometimes caregivers can go from being a caregiver to an enabler. And
quick.
And very quick. I mean, super quick. And so this is what I started dialoguing about, how to help somebody in chronic pain. And if you have an individual in chronic pain, it is a family issue. It is not limited to the individual. I can promise you that. We have 2 sons and a daughter-in-law and a wonderful grandson. But I'm telling you, if one member is in chronic pain, the whole family is affected by this. So if you're going to treat one member in chronic pain, you need to treat the whole family. And the way you treat the whole family is not by simply just saying, well, take care of yourself and make sure you get some good rest at night. You know, that's not how you do it. You sit down and you help them understand what is going on with them, what is happening to their loved one, how their loved one is wrestling with certain things that are beyond their control, and how to be a little bit more patient, how to be caring, and then how to explore alternative things that are out there. And there's a lot of alternatives to narcotics.
Exactly. And they don't necessarily have to replace. They can supplement. They can do whatever. But, you want everything to be in the best possible order in your house.
If you think you're going to fight chronic pain on one front, you are sadly mistaken. It is like fighting ISIS. And ISIS don't play fair. I mean, they're going to be it's coming out of the woodwork. It comes from every different direction. And so you can't just look at one thing that's going to make this better. You're going to have to look at it from a holistic point of view and look at everything. And that involves music to medicine. I mean, everything. And Gracie be the first to tell you, when she gets into lots and lots and lots of pain, I've seen her do this over and over and over again, where she'll just start singing. And sorry, I get kind of emotional when I think about it, because I've heard it, and it just lifts her spirit, and it helps her push back against this. And I know she's listening right now, and baby, I hope you don't mind me sharing all this, but it's kind of late now, isn't it? But it's an incredibly.
Did you hear my eyebrow raise on that one?
Sorry about that, y'all. But it's an incredibly moving thing to hear somebody in the level of pain that she's in. And I've seen the MRIs and I've seen the X-rays, and I've lived with her for over 30 years. To sing songs of her faith that just transcend it, and that's how you get through. So it's not just reaching for a prescription. And sometimes it's just holding somebody. There's so many different things, and yet nobody is saying this. They're just saying, well, we got to go fight the opioid crisis. And I'm thinking, no, what we got to do is we got to look at the whole family, the whole picture, and we got to have the dialogue. And you know how much money it costs to tell people, hey, this could this could affect you as a caregiver. It costs nothing. It costs nothing. You don't need a fiscal note. You don't need to pass some kind of legislation. You don't need to come up with something that takes 18 months to come up with a plan. I'm sorry. I'm grateful for the RAISE Act. Thank you very much, Congress and the president, for signing it. I'm very grateful. Thank you. I'm very grateful. But I don't know about the rest of you all, but I don't know how many of us can wait 18 months before we get some kind of plan. Most of us need one in 18 seconds.
Yeah.
And that's what this show is about. That's what my book is about. That's what my CD is about. That's what everything I do is about, is what are we going to do right here and right now? And by the way, that takes us back to our, wait for it, caregiver tip of the day. And the caregiver tip of the day, brought to you by AARP of Tennessee, is do the next right thing. And the next right thing is not trying to somehow manage the next 10 years of your life. Break it down to something very, very simple. The next right thing sometimes is for you to just be still. Just to be still, just to breathe. I had one person just text in a minute ago. The next right thing for them often, and we've talked about this before, it's just to breathe. In fact, try it right now. 4 seconds in, 8 seconds out. You always exhale twice as long as you inhale. Try it. I learned that in martial arts. Just do it right now. And breathe out slowly. Do you see how much calmer you get just with breathing? Breathing doesn't cost anything.
And don't think about anything else.
No,
just think about the
let
breath.
it go. And just understand that as you listen to this show, wherever you are, whether you're across the country listening on the Truth Network, across the world listening on iHeart, just understand that you're engaged now with a community of people who understand the level of trauma that your heart is in right now. Just breathe. Just breathe. Slow down. You didn't get here overnight. You're not going to get out of it overnight. And the goal is really not to get out of it. The goal is for you to be strong and healthy in it. You know, this whole journey is not some destination where we're finally done with this and we can go on and be happy, happy, happy all the time. That doesn't work that way. But we can be healthy and we can be calmer. And dare if I whisper it, we can be joyful even while dealing with some very harsh things. You know who I learned that from? I learned that from my wife, because I watch what she carries. I watch what she endures. And she doesn't live sometimes in the same world you and I do. I don't know how she does it. She keeps a great attitude with it, and she lives with brutal circumstances. Now, she has her moments. Usually I'm involved in those moments, John. Usually I cause those moments. But I've watched her worship. I've watched her pray. I've watched her sing. And I've watched her live, even while living with harsh things. I remember when she went out and do stuff and she said, well, I'm going to be in pain anyway. I might as well have some fun.
There you go, Gracie.
How about that? So as caregivers, look, it's not going to get necessarily better right now, but we might as well have a great time and learn to enjoy life. Sometimes we demand the grandiose and we miss the exquisite. And there's exquisite beauty right in your hands right now. Do the next right thing. Hey, this is Peter Rosenberger. This is the nation's #1 show for the family caregiver. We're glad you're with us. 800-688-9522. And we're also at the Caregiver channel on YouTube. You can see that. And the podcast is Caregiver Podcast. The CD is Songs for the Caregiver on Amazon or iTunes. The book is Hope for the Caregiver. The show is Hope for the Caregiver, and you're a part of it. We're glad you're here. We'll be right back.
Here's some great news. If you missed the deadline to sign up for health insurance, or if you signed up for a plan you're not happy with, you still have a choice. MediShare is a healthcare sharing program. Hundreds of thousands of Christians are part of this. It can save you a lot. Typical savings for a family is about $500 a month. You can join MediShare anytime. It's easy to call and look into it. There's no pressure at all. And man, what a difference it can make. 855-25-SHARE. That's 855-25-SHARE.
Nothing from nothing leaves nothing. Gotta have something.
Welcome back to the show for caregivers, about caregivers, hosted by a caregiver. This is Hope for the Caregiver. I am Peter Rosenberger, bringing you 3 decades of experience to help you stay strong and healthy as you take care of someone who is not. And we are grateful that you're here. 800-688-9522, 800-688-WLAC. Hey, thanks for that, John. You said I would love the music today. Well, I love the music every time.
Well, thank you very much. But this one in particular, this set, I pulled these 3. I'm like, oh, these have Peter written all over.
Well, you've done a fine job, and you're a fine fellow, if I do say so, my fine self.
Wow, well, back at you, buddy.
Hey, listen, one piece of quick news. I didn't tell you this. Turns out we're working this out, but it looks like the show is going to be uploaded to the iHeart podcast, to be available through the iHeart app all the time.
Oh, well, right on.
They're working that. Is it the metric or the matrix? Because the blue
Skeptical
pill,
look.
the blue pill or the red pill. They're working out the scenario right now.
Gotcha.
So,
you take the blue pill, you go back to sleep, you stay in Wonderland.
So they're working out. So the show will be available on that. Right now, it's available through. The entire show will be on iHeart's app.
Okay.
24/7, anytime.
Okay.
And so we'll upload it, and after the show and so forth, we'll do that. And that's going to be coming here probably in February.
Okay.
So that's kind of cool. Little piece of news on that.
Extra access for all of your caregiver needs.
Well, and the way I have it now with the podcast, and you guys tell me if you want it different, but I put the show out there in small clips.
Right.
Now, I will probably start putting the whole show out there, the video part of it, since we're doing it now in Facebook Live and so forth.
It's a lot harder
on the
to edit
YouTube
video than audio.
A little bit. And I think I may just do it on the Caregiver channel on YouTube, and you can subscribe to that.
Mm-hmm.
But the podcast, I thought it might be easier for caregivers if I did it in small bites. So I'll take a segment of things and put it out there. Like if when we did the caregiver tip of the day, you don't have to play the thing.
I wasn't ready anyway.
But I'll put like that segment out there, and we'll talk about that, because I think caregivers are on the go so much that it's very difficult sometimes to listen to the whole thing. But I can be persuaded otherwise. But I think now with iHeart, they're going to put the whole show on there.
Oh, right on.
So that's what's happening on that. So a lot to go on with just a little bit of logistics there. And I want to also send you to standingwithhope.com. Standing with Hope is the overarching ministry of what we do. We have two program areas. One of them is the family caregiver outreach, which you're listening to now. The other one is the prosthetic limb outreach that Gracie envisioned after giving up both of her legs, of using quality prosthetic limbs to help her fellow amputees. I'm working on a trip this year. She wants to go back with us this year.
Well, that would be lovely.
We had to get her through this surgery, but she's planning on it, and in fact, she's insisting on it. So it's a little bit of work to take her over there.
Sure. Well, it is, but it's also worth it.
Well, I'll tell you why. It sends a huge message to the folks that see her just on the street in Ghana, where we do this, because everywhere Gracie goes, it creates what I like to call a theological argument in people's minds. When they see this woman walking in, her legs are robotic looking, and she's laughing and cutting up and usually rolling her eyes at some of my stuff. And so when people see that, it's a real mental,
cognitive dissonance is the word you're looking for.
Yeah, thank you for that, John. Not only talented, but vocabulary of, well, never mind.
Well, I pulled it from the $9 column in the big board of words.
But cognitive dissonance, when you see that, and developing countries are not necessarily known for their forward thinking on people with disabilities. And when she shows up, that's a conversation starter. And then to do it and weave in her faith and so forth. So we're trying. We think we can. But in the meantime, you can be a part of this right now. We send regular supplies over. I'm getting ready to put together another shipment here. All of these things, these recycled limbs that we have, we call it Operation Footloose. They come from prosthetic limbs from all over the country, are donated to us, and they go to a local prison run by Core Civic. And they have a lot of faith-based programs at Core Civic. And inmates disassemble these things for us. They will strip down the entire leg, and if it's an above knee, we'll keep the knees, the joints, everything, feet, pylon, everything, and recycle all those parts, send them over there, buy a bunch of new parts, and then make custom fit legs over there. And that's the vision that Gracie had at standingwithhope.com. You can see more and how you can get involved, and then take advantage of the resources we put out there for family caregivers. It's for the wounded and for those who care for them. That's why we do what we do. This is Hope for the Caregiver. This is the nation's #1 show for the family caregiver. We're grateful that you're with us. There's so much more at standingwithhope.com, and we will see you next week. Welcome back to the show for caregivers, about caregivers, hosted by a caregiver. This is Hope for the Caregiver. I am Peter Rosenberger, bringing you 3 decades of experience to help you stay strong and healthy as you take care of someone who is not. And we are grateful that you're here. 800-688-9522, 800-688 WLAC. Hey, thanks for that, John. You said I would love the music. I love the music every time.
Well, thank you very much. But this one in particular, this set, I pulled these 3. I'm like, oh, these have Peter written all over.
Well, you've done a fine job, and you're a fine fellow, if I do say so, my fine self.
Wow, well, back at you, buddy.
Hey, listen, one piece of quick news. I didn't tell you this. Turns out we're working this out, but it looks like the show is going to be uploaded to the iHeart podcast, to be available through the iHeart app all the time.
Oh, well, right on.
They're working that. Is it the metric or the matrix? because the blue
Skeptical look.
the blue pill or the red pill, they're working out the scenario right now.
Gotcha.
So,
you take the blue pill, you go back to sleep, you stay in Wonderland.
so they're working out. So the show will be available on that. Right now, it's available through. The entire show will be on iHeart's app.
Okay.
24/7, anytime.
Okay.
And so we'll upload it, and after the show and so forth, we'll do that. And that's going to be coming here probably in February.
Okay.
So that's kind of cool. Little piece of news
Just
on that.
Extra access for all of your caregiver needs.
Well, and the way I have it now with the podcast, and you guys tell me if you want it different, but I put the show out there in small clips.
Right.
Now, I will probably start putting the whole show out there, the video part of it, since we're doing it now in Facebook Live and so forth.
It's a lot harder to edit
YouTube.
video than audio.
A little bit. And I
Yeah.
think I may just do it on the Caregiver channel on YouTube, and you can subscribe to that.
Mhm.
But the podcast, I thought it might be easier for caregivers if I did it in small bites. So I'll take a segment of things and put it out there. Like when we did the caregiver tip of the day, you don't have to play the thing.
I wasn't ready anyway.
But I'll put like that segment out there, and we'll talk about that, because I think caregivers are on the go so much that it's very difficult sometimes to listen to the whole thing. But I can be persuaded otherwise. But I think now with iHeart, they're going to put the whole show on there.
Oh, right on.
So that's what's happening on that. So a lot to go on with just a little bit of logistics there. And I want to also send you to standingwithhope.com. Standing with Hope is the overarching ministry of what we do. We have two program areas. One of them is the family caregiver outreach, which you're listening to now. The other one is the prosthetic limb outreach that Gracie envisioned after giving up both of her legs, of using quality prosthetic limbs to help her fellow amputees. I'm working on a trip this year. She wants to go back with us this year.
Well, that would be lovely.
We had to get her through this surgery,
Mhm.
but she's planning on it, and in fact, she's insisting on it. So it's a little bit of work to take her over there.
Sure. Well,
And,
it is, but it's also worth it.
Well, I'll tell you why. It sends a huge message to the folks that see her just on the street in Ghana, where we do this, because everywhere Gracie goes, it creates what I like to call a theological argument in people's minds. When they see this woman walking in, her legs are robotic looking, and she's laughing and cutting up and usually rolling her eyes at some of my stuff. And so when people see that, it's a real mental
Cognitive dissonance is the word you're looking for.
Yeah, thank you for that, John. Not only talented, but vocabulary of, well, never mind.
Well, I pulled it from the $9 column in the big board of words.
But cognitive dissonance, when you see that, and developing countries are not necessarily known for their forward thinking on people with disabilities. And when she shows up, that's a conversation starter. And then to do it and weave in her faith and so forth. So we're trying. We think we can. But in the meantime, you can be a part of this right now. We send regular supplies over. I'm getting ready to put together another shipment here. All of these things, these recycled limbs that we have, we call it Operation Footloose. They come from prosthetic limbs from all over the country, are donated to us, and they go to a local prison run by Core Civic. And they have a lot of faith-based programs at Core Civic. And inmates disassemble these things for us. They will strip down the entire leg, and if it's an above knee, we'll keep the knees, the joints, everything, feet, pylon, everything, and recycle all those parts, send them over there, buy a bunch of new parts, and then make custom fit legs over there. And that's a vision that Gracie had at standingwithhope.com. You can see more on how you can get involved, and then take advantage of the resources we put out there for family caregivers. It's for the wounded and for those who care for them. That's why we do what we do. This is Hope for the Caregiver. This is the nation's #1 show for the family caregiver. We're grateful that you're with us. There's so much more at standingwithhope.com, and we will see you next week.